So, part 3, folks. So after she illegally denies my motion to disqualify, and I argue with her, I says, you just violated Florida statute on the motion to disqualify. You violated all this other stuff. You violated your own rules. She don't care. Motion denied. I don't care. I'm not going to argue. I'll break the law. I'll do whatever I want. I'm a judge. I got absolute immunity. I can do whatever I want. Remember, she's acting outside her judicial capacity and her judicial immunity. This is why I'm suing her in federal court. She's not acting as a judge. She's acting as a corrupt, rogue, felony committing, conspiracy committing individual. She's not acting in her judicial capacity. She does not care. And I'm going to continue to fight legally every way I can. In the end, I always win. I'm going to win. I'm not worried about it. And I even told her, wait till you hear this story, what happened in the courtroom. So I do oral tennises. Oral tennis is a verbal motion. I do an oral tennis to disqualify her again, based on what she just did, violating Florida statutes, the law, the Constitution, and everything else. And say, because I've given a verbal oral tennis motion, and I need time to sign my sworn affidavit under penalty of perjury and put my motion in writing, you need to stay this case. And I'm also going to do an oral tennis for a continuance and motion to stay this case. And I also detail how the last motion for disqualification, I filed a writ of prohibition, a petition for writ of prohibition to the appellate court, to a panel of 3 judges in a higher court above her that is pending right now for her bias and her railroading me while biased. And because of that, she needs to stay the case and not proceed. Motion denied, motion denied. I even argued that she cannot legally deny this motion because the motion, oral tennis, verbal motion to disqualify her, needs to be put on paper. She needs to give me time to put it on paper and sign my sworn affidavit. Nope. She lies because she's a compulsive lying woman that can't admit she's wrong. This is what women do in general, particularly this judge. When you tell them they're wrong, they run, block, and hide, ban, block, suspend, and they silence you. And they lie. This is what this judge does, involved in this conspiracy with all the females I've sued in federal court. And she violates my rights, and I argue with her, and I said, I'd like you to show me case law right now that shows me you have authority to deny my oral tennis for motion for disqualifications, because I've already read it, and you don't have authority to do that. You need to stay the case and give me opportunity to put it on paper and file my sworn affidavit on paper. Nope, I disagree. I said, show it to me in case law right now. She wouldn't, because she knows she's wrong. Women wrong, though, get pissed off, put her panties in a bunch, and throw shit at you. That's what they do. They will never admit they're wrong. Anyways, so she proceeds to railroad me and have an illegal hearing and commit felony conspiracy, assist in felony perjury, and all the rest of it through this entire hearing. Again, the officer that swore that he was going to be there on body camera is not there. So during the hearing, I had said something about it. Where is badge number 917? I forget his name, Deputy Master Chief or whatever he was. He was a higher-up officer, Wilkinman or whatever. And the bailiff said something like, oh, well, he got called into the jail to do an arrest. Yes, bullshit. You know, it's just corruption. Corruption at the highest level. So we proceed, and I argue my oral tennis for continuance that I'm not prepared. This hearing is not supposed to take place. Not only this is an illegal hearing, I have pending criminal charges against Your Honor, and Your Honor is committing felony perjury, assisting in felony perjury, committing felony conspiracy, all the rest of it. I had a sheriff in the courtroom that has disappeared. That's supposed to be documenting your criminal crimes. You know, I go to a toe-to-toe war with this judge, legally. She ain't hearing nothing. She don't care about the law. She don't care about constitutional law. She don't care about criminal law. She don't care about nothing. Florida statutes, nothing. She's been given full reign from the sheriff, the chief judge, and everybody else to railroad me, silence me, and do whatever she wants to me. I don't have my laptop. I don't have any of my motions. So she starts out reading the docket, way into the case, and reading motions that are pending motions. But I have motions pending since November of last year when I had a lawyer for possession of the house, for all kinds of stuff, and I may bring it to her attention. Well, what docket line is that? What date was it filed? I said, you know I'm not prepared for this. You look it up. She found them. She refused to rule on them. She ignored them. It was a complete sham, this entire freaking court hearing. But, I'm not really worried about it because it's all going to be turned over in the appellate court by 3 judges when I file an appeal and writs and the rest of it. So I'm just letting her go on with it. This is what these rogue judges do until they're held accountable. So it goes on and on and on. And I don't even know where to start. She kept interrupting me and saying I was out of order and all the rest of it. But I had already been warned by somebody on TikTok that's a lawyer that made a really good video that if a judge threatens you at all in the courtroom, which she's done countless times in countless hearings, when they threaten you in the courtroom with removing you or sanctions or contempt or whatever, they are actually committing a felony under this statute, and they're also violating the Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution for judges' good behavior to uphold the judiciary with respect and all this other stuff. And aside from that, he didn't even mention, which I mentioned verbally in the courtroom, the 7 or 8 Florida canons that she has sworn under oath to abide by, to uphold the judiciary with respect and integrity and all the rest of it. She's violating that too. So I was waiting for her to threaten me, And I get in this war with her on legal stuff, and I forget. There was so many motions heard, that all my motions were denied, all their motions were granted or set to hearing, and it was a complete spectacle and a show. Motion for mandatory disclosures, they had filed like a motion for sanctions or something, and she had asked me, Mr. Seoane, have you filed mandatory disclosures as required within 45 days of the filing of this case, which was 2 years ago? And if not, why? So she gives me an opportunity to respond. So I go to respond, and I got a hell of a response because my wife and her lawyers have not filed monetary disclosures up until a couple months ago when I threatened them an email with sanctions and to put them in criminal contempt of court for not doing it. And they did do it a couple months ago, but it's fraud. It's a felony fraud and conspiracy and perjury what they've done because they did not include her Cash App payments for her prostitution where she makes all her money. It's a long story. You can read into it later. And I mentioned it in the courtroom, and I've been silenced and silenced and silenced. So anyway, she's asking me this question, so I go to respond to it. And I say, Your Honor, no, I have not filed my mandatory disclosures because I'm not legally able to because my wife, Sir, you're out of order. Don't be attacking your wife. This is what they do. They silence the truth. They don't want to hear it. Okay? So she was trying to bait me into interrupting the judge and being out of order and being in contempt. I knew what she was doing, and I didn't play into it. I'm smarter than that. So she went on a rant, putting all these accusations against me and telling me how I can't do this in the court and this and that. And I let her speak. And then she says, I'm going to ask you again, Mr. Seoane, to answer the question, have you filed mandatory disclosures? And if no, why? So she didn't like my response the second time. The second time, I said, Your Honor, you just rudely interrupted me, violated my First Amendment for freedom of speech, my right to petition the government, and your Florida judicial canons for respect, to uphold the judiciary and all. I fucking went off on her legally of all the shit she just violated by rudely interrupting me and silencing me. Sir, you cannot do that. You need to be quiet. She did it again, so I stayed quiet. She verbally reprimanded me. See the next part.